Good eve- Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and get started. I'll give everyone about 5 seconds to sit down. No, I'm just kidding. I'm kind of, but not really. All right. Well, good evening. Good evening. I am Tina Harris. I'm the first vice president of NCA. So welcome to our conference. Woo! All right, all right. Someone's taking a picture, so. I'm just kidding, I'm kidding. Well, it is indeed my honor to be here, not just for the conference, but to be here for the PhD pipeline. This is a very important program, and Dr. Ron Jackson, of course, is going to take, he has this whole session to celebrate what is an amazing program that I hope will be inspirational to all of us, not just those who are doctoral students, but those who will be future doctoral students, and those of us who were doctoral students many years ago, many years ago. I know not too long ago, but at any rate, we are here to celebrate the potential that lies within our field, the potential that lies within each and every one of you. And I hope that while you all are here in Denver, that you all are able to go to as many conferences, not conferences, just one, there's only one conference, that you all are able to go to as many of the panels as possible. Make sure that you check your program so that you can go to the special sessions, especially the ones that are that I coordinated as the first VP. And I do want to do one quick plug for the Centers panel, and it's the only one because the movie came out right on time so that everybody else could miss out, but we were able to capitalize on that. So we have a panel tomorrow at 2:30. It's a double session from 2:30 to 5:15, and you can find the information in the program. But I'm glad that we are all here to support Ron and the panelists that are going to be speaking shortly, as well as the students who are in the pipeline and the faculty that are affiliated with it. And I hope that this really inspires us to be even more committed to the work that we have ahead of us and what we're doing now. So at this time, I would like to bring Dr. Ron Jackson to the stage.
Good evening, everyone. Let's give a round of applause to our convention planner, Dr. Tina Harris. It's such a wonderful moment, an historic moment for our discipline, and we are super excited to have her here with us as leading the charge and leading this convention. It's a lot of work that goes into these conventions. And this session is designed to be the opening session as a way to inspire you to think a little bit differently about what the theme is really all about. The convention theme today is Communicate to Elevate. And Communicate to Elevate is broader than anything that is broad, that is just about geographic spaces and places. It's also something that reminds us it's important to mentor, to give back, to allow our talents to be something that we're not just selfishly holding, but instead with an attitude of, we get to do that. We get to go to the classroom and teach wonderful students. We get to elevate them through mentoring, and we get to come to this conference to enjoy one another and to be elevated ourselves. So another round of applause for Dr. Tina Harris. It is my honor to welcome you to this panel. And this discussion is entitled Lifting as We Climb, Extending the PhD Pipeline and Elevating the Next Generation of Communication Scholars. And today we gather a community of scholars with the idea of having a commitment to the future of our discipline. The phrase, Lifting as We Climb, is more than a motto. It is a call to action. It is essentially a revolutionary act. And mentoring is the revolution. And as we think about the revolutionary act of mentoring, we are reminded of our responsibility as individuals to continue to invest in those around us, to invest in the discipline, And we're doing that in one way through the Communication PhD Pipeline program. Around the room, you will see individuals holding up signs. And these signs are meant to share with you that although you see them on a picket, right, on a picket sign, it's really about us taking time to honor one another. Also, to compel you to think differently. If mentoring is a radical act, if it's really about each one teaching one, or about community creating change, or about uncompromised excellence, then how do we do that work? Our session today is structured to honor the spirit of Sankofa. Around the room, you will see people with these kinds of stoles. These graduation stoles have a Sankofa bird on them, and the Sankofa bird is all about retrieving the past. It's about using your skills to support others. And so, as we fill the stage with the signs, I'm going to take a moment for us to just be silent, to read them, to be inspired by them, and to let it fill you. Uncompromised excellence. That is our motto, and let's celebrate together these kinds of revolutions and these individuals holding these signs. And to all of you, we hope it inspires you. And another round of applause. I have the privilege to introduce to you someone that is a wonderful colleague in our field, is a tremendous human being, is a talented scholar, and a friend. Javon Johnson is an associate professor and director of African American and African diaspora studies at the University of Nevada, Las Vegas. He is an individual who has received a degree from Northwestern University in Performance Studies, certificate in Gender Studies, and a cognate in African American Studies. As an associate professor, he has spent his time doing research related to performance, to Blackness, to ethnography, to Black popular culture, to slam and spoken word poetry, to Black sexuality, and to many other similar topics. We are so excited to have him here today. He will spend a few moments with us this evening, sharing with us poetically a set of inspiring words, as you've seen him on HBO's Deaf Poetry Jam, as you've seen him on BET's Lyric Cafe, on TV One's Verses and Flow, the Arsenio Hall Show, and the Steve Harvey Show. This National Poetry Slam winning poet is a filmmaker, a scholar, an artist, a communication professor, an NCA member, and a wonderful friend. Let's all please welcome none other than Javon Johnson.
What about the rest of y'all in the back? Y'all all right? Because that was a question for everybody. We good? We're here. We're at the opening ceremony. Let's look alive. Let's be all right. How we doing? We all right? Hello. That wasn't supposed to happen, but we're still all good. Let's get loose for a minute. Is that all right? All right, I'm gonna do some poems. What's really special for me about this moment, if I could, before I do any poems, is a couple of people. One, let's give it up for Ron Jackson one more time. I was I think a first-year master's student when Ron flew me out. This was Eastern States Communications Association to perform there, and so look at us coming full circle yet once again, right? But also my advisor, my PhD advisor, who's here as well. And while we're honoring mentorship, what's amazing is before E. Patrick Johnson was ever my advisor, we sat on a communications studies panel. It was a bunch of black grad students with a bunch of really super established black professors, and I'm not gonna lie, we were nervous to email them, but each and every one of them was so gracious, and look at us now. Thank y'all for being here. Let's rock this, all right? We good? So I'm gonna do this poem. Ron asked me to, so we'll start right off with that one, and then we'll get into the mix, and we'll be all right. I'm a real high energy performer. That means that if I say something in the middle of a poem, in the middle of this set that makes you wanna clap, yell, holler, high five, by all means do so. I am saying this is not your typical panel. I'm saying get loose, get active, high five each other. Let's have a good time. Is that all right? Cool. So I'm driving down the street with my 4-year-old nephew. 5, actually. He knocking back a juice box, me a Snapple. Today, y'all, we are doing manly stuff. I love watching the way his mind works. He asks a million questions. Uncle, why is the sky blue? Uncle, how do cars go? Uncle, why don't dogs talk? He asks uncle. He asks uncle, as if his voice box is a warped record. I try my best to answer every question I do. I say, I don't know. It's because the way the sun lights up the outer space. It's because their engines make the wheels go. It's because their minds aren't quite like ours. I tell him yes, no, no, yes, no. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe he laughs at me. He smiles. He looks out the window, spots a cop car, drops his seat and says, oh man, Uncle 5-0, we gotta hide. I'm not happy with the way we raise our black boys. Don't like the fact that he learned to hide from the cops well before he knew how to read. Angrier that his survival depends more on his ability to deal with authorities than it does his own literacy. Get up, I yell at him. In this car, in this family, we are not afraid of the law. I wonder if he can hear the uncertainty in my voice. Is today the day he learns that Uncle is willing to lie to him? That I'm more human than I am hero? We both know the truth is far more complex than do not hide. We both know too many Trayvon Martins, Oscar Grants, and Abner Louimas. Know too many Sean Bells and Amadou Diallos. Know too well that we are the hard-boiled sons of Emmett Till. Still, we both know it is not about whether or not a shooter is racist. It's about how poor black boys are treated as problems well before we're treated as people. Where I'm from, seeing cop cars drive down the street feels a lot like low-flying planes. In New York City, routine traffic stops feel more like minefields. Any wrong move could very well mean my life. And how do I look my nephew in his apple face and tell him to be strong when we both know black boys who are murdered every day simply for standing up for themselves? I take him by the hand and I say, be strong. I tell him, be smart. I tell him, be kind and polite. I tell him, know your laws. Be aware of how quickly your hand moves for pocket, for ID. Be more aware of how quickly that officer's hand moves to holster for gun. Be black, be a boy, have fun, because this world will force you to become a man far more quickly than you should ever have to need to. He lets go of my hand, but Uncle, he asks, what happens if the cop is really mean? And it scares me to know, you know, that he, like so many black boys, he's getting ready for a war I can't fully prepare him for. To the interpreter, my deepest apologies. My deepest apologies. I move a little fast to you. This is for you, the interpreter. Thank you. Give it up for the interpreter one more time. I am told it took me longer than normal to unclench my fist as a newborn child. My mother says this is how she knew her baby boy was to be a fighter. True story, when I was 7 years old, I broke a kid's arm in 2 places because my older brother made me fight that boy again. By the time I was 10, I was champion for knocking other kids unconscious on a football field. When I was 13, I averaged no less than about 3 fights per month most. I cannot remember why. By the time I was in high school, I fought some more, was shot at a few times, kicked a kid down the stairs, choked another with my bare hands. I'm not sure you understand why I tell you this. I mean, I'm not happy about any of it. I want desperately to perform a healthier masculinity, but this world has never allowed me to unclench my fist. I was 21 years old in Mississippi when a truck full of white guys drunk on Confederate flags called me a nigger. I remember wanting to show them how much of a nigger I could be, so I put my back up against the wall, clenched my fist, told them, do what you gotta do. I needed them to know how much these hands are rated E for everybody, and I heard just how much white boys love to play catch. Just then, a cop car pulls up, asks them if I was causing trouble. Later, I tell a college buddy of mine, and he says, good Lord, Javon, do you know how easily you could have been hurt? And I think to myself, ain't that just like a white boy to remind me of all the ways I could be hurt? So I wonder how different was my buddy from the cop, both of them from the boys, and the boys are always around. So my uncle taught me how to swing these hands like good scripture once. He told me, and I quote, if someone ever tests you, pray, but you remind him of the rapture. So I swear I'm only up here trying to do God's good work. But when my niece grabs me by the face with both of her tiny hands and tells me, Uncle, you're the best uncle in the world, something I am absolutely certain she tells all of her uncles. I know it is not my fists, but the way they bloom into flowers that makes her say this. To garden is to dig your hands underneath the soil and pray something beautiful springs up. They say dandelions, though commonly disregarded as weeds, are completely edible sources of vitamin A. And this teaches me that even an unwanted thing can be useful too. I pray someday this unwanted black boy feels safe enough to break open for someone else's health. But I know roses have thorns simply because there are people who pick flowers just because they can. And this becomes the difference between white masculinities and black masculinities. Some days I am a flower, others I am a shear, but every day I am vulnerable at being broken at the stem or labeled a weapon that must be destroyed. I was 35 when a white colleague told me my anger frightens her. I was 35 when that same white colleague told me that a white male's colleague passion inspires her. I was 35 when a white family crowded around me in a coffee shop and told me, do you know how easily we could have you arrested? I was 35 minding my business when a white woman asked me, do you have to be so loud? To which I responded, do you have to be in Oakland? I was 35 ready to break somebody wide open. I was 35 when my niece grabbed me by the face again with her tiny hands. She said, Uncle, you're so silly. You're so full of love. You're just always so silly. And I think I want desperately to forever be the flower, you know? Fully bloomed, no thorns. But, all right, how y'all feeling? Y'all still all right? Okay, one more and then we'll sit down and I'll see y'all later. Y'all been beautiful. All right, y'all still good? Y'all all right? Okay. I just like, you gotta check the temperature of the room. I say stuff and people are like, oh my goodness. All right, here we go, pump. I only say truth. Okay. Writing is when you put sentences in a proper sequence. Whenever a single sentence is read aloud, it should be easily comprehensible. Clear and concise sentences are almost always preferable. Example, Javon smiles. See? Javon is the noun in that sentence. Smiles is the action verb. It does something in the world. If you want to get fancy and color that sentence up, throw in an adverb just before the noun. Throw in an adjective just before the noun. Adverbs, on the other hand, should always follow the verb in which they use to describe. Example, I messed that up. Let me start that over. A lesson in proper sentence construction. Writing is a process where you place sentences in a proper sequence. Whenever a single sentence is read aloud, it should be easily comprehensible. Clear and concise sentences are almost always preferable. Example, Javon smiles. See? Javon is the proper noun in that sentence, but can be easily replaced by the noun boy. Smiles is the action verb. It does something in the world. If you want to get fancy and color that sentence up, throw in an adjective just before the noun. Adverbs, on the other hand, should always follow the verb in which they're used to describe. Example, the black boy smiles largely. See? It should be noted that in this poem, the black boy is the sentence, not the sentenced. The black boy should not be a lesson in court construction or how the judicial system railroads black families. In this poem, the black boy is the sentence, the object. The object lesson here being is that our courts construct their sentences opposite grammatical law. It is incorrect for a judge to state, I'm going to go with the state's recommendation and sentence you to X amount of years. Rather, whenever we consider an event that have occurred to be unfinished and could therefore always happen again, we should use perfect present tense conjugation. In this way, a judge might better state that state has been recommending and been sentencing the black boy for years. I used to think I wanted to conquer the world. Like any mediocre white man we'd later call great, I thought my life too worthy of a state-sanctioned monument, believed in the American dream and blind justice. Years ago, I testified in court as a character witness for a friend because I thought all my fancy degrees would matter. The judge gave him a decade for a felony he likely did not commit, but even if he did, what exactly does that sentence say? What exactly does that sentence mean? His mother wept uncontrollably. The court became a musty Klan's robe before they took him away. He turned to us, shackled, but the black boy could not smile. The black boy could not smile. The black boy could not. And isn't that a proper sentence too? Clear, concise, somehow still too long like the sentences black folk are always given. However, it is incorrect to say that the black boy was jailed. It is passive. It lacks a subject who jailed the black boy. The racist system jailed him harshly. See the placement of the adjective, noun, verb, and adverb. See who's doing all the action here. See, no mention of the black girl, how easily she is erased. See exactly how the system teaches us to construct proper sentences.
In our contemporary society, we're finding that the term Black excellence seems to be something that feels new for people.
I got to publish an article with someone else who was doing similar work. It was really cool to connect with fellow Black students.
Mentorship is just very imperative. It's important.
It gives them the capacity to pursue excellence in every respect.
I can research anything in communications.
At one point you felt like you were, as a Black scholar, in it alone. Now you're not.
Come with me through the door. I will show you where to go next.
Do y'all feel elevated? You know, the beautiful thing about epistemologies, right, is that they don't have to just sit in the classroom. That we get to understand ways of knowing, and we get to do that in ways that can appreciate realities that may or may not be our own. And I'm just so proud of what we've heard today in the performance art of Javon Johnson. Let's give him a round of applause. So when we say the opening session is about communicate to elevate, what we're talking about here is something that's different than what you might have thought, right? You know, sometimes we gather in these sessions and we don't always realize ways in which we can be elevated, right? Maybe hearing an experience outside of your own is elevating. Maybe hearing an experience where it is your own, but you're inspired to think about how you can overcome is elevating. Whatever it is, it's a beautiful opportunity for us to think about where people are in their lives and how we get them to move to the next stage. How do we elevate them? And so today's panel is about mentoring being the revolutionary act within academe, but it's also about experience, people's individual experiences and what motivates them to be who they are. And so I want to introduce to you our panelists for this afternoon, and that will include Kelly Merrill from the University of Cincinnati, Kimberly Johnson from Tennessee State University, Priscilla Cotton from Georgia State University, Marquise McFerguson from Florida Atlantic University, Precious Johnson from the University of Miami, Scott Bandy from the University of Washington, Yulani Rogers from New York University, and last but not least, Kyle Joaquin from the University of Miami. And what you're going to notice in just a moment is, as you see the slides cued in the background, you'll start seeing the individuals that we are saluting, individuals that have been mentors in our field, and they'll continue to be rolling in the background. But I just want you to kind of take this moment with us, right, to acknowledge these individuals. No need to clap because we're going to start with the actual panelists, and so we want to make sure we hear them. But just kind of, have the kind of honor and reverence that we have for the work they've done. And this is not a complete list. There are people in this room who've been doing this their whole careers. And so this is just a sampling of the individuals that have really helped to extend our field and helped to elevate all of us. And so what I'm going to do is offer the panelists a few questions along the way, and they're going to be answering those questions. And we'll go one by one, and they can answer them, maybe all of them, or they can answer a couple of them. We don't have time for every person to answer every question, but here's the first question. How would each of you describe your first meaningful mentoring experience in the field of communication? Anyone can answer.
So, hello everyone, my name is Precious Johnson, first year doctoral student at the University of Miami. And my first experience of true mentorship within the field of communication was with Dr. Morgan Kirby. She was my graduate advisor at Texas Southern University getting my master's, and she changed my life completely. From the first moment I walked into that university, she took me by the hand and guided me throughout my transition, guided me throughout my whole entire academic journey within that program. And without her, I would not be here. I wouldn't be sitting here. I wouldn't have that connect to the pipeline and meeting Dr. Tonisha Taylor. And I wouldn't have gained so many resources and connects without her leadership and guidance of making me the woman and the scholar that I am today. So.
And just a brief note, these panelists are actually assembled purposefully, right? So if you look to the far right, Kyle Joaquin is going to be defending his dissertation in just a couple of weeks. And he's been mentored significantly throughout his career, but it's awesome that he's also joined this pipeline program as part of our leadership team. Then we have Yulani Rogers, who represents our most recent cohort of individuals. We have each year of the Communication PhD Pipeline Program, which is a program that is supported by the National Communication Association. Each year, we have what we call a dynasty. And so there's been a first, second, third. Now we have a fourth dynasty. You saw the people on the stage with the picket signs. Those are the fourth dynasty. But we have Yulani as the third dynasty. Next to her, third dynasty, Scott Bandy. And then the second dynasty, we have Precious Johnson. And then we have Dr. Marquise McFerguson, who's part of our leadership team. And then we have Priscilla Cotton, who's part of the first dynasty, right? We call her our OG. And then we have Dr. Kimberly Johnson, who is part of our leadership team, and Dr. Kelly Merrill. So they're all part of the leadership. This is what's awesome about this, is that they have all invested in this process. It's a multi-layered program that allows individuals to be mentored, not just as fellows for the program for the year, but then peer mentors who are current PhD students, and then they're mentored by faculty mentors, and they're all on research teams. So it's a multi-layered process, and I'm just so excited to have these panelists gathered with us. Okay, so who wants to answer the question again? So the question again is, how would each of you describe your first meaningful mentoring experience in the field of communication?
I could answer that. Hello, everyone, again, Kelly Merrill. My first experience was when I was the age of 18, first day of undergrad. I was at Barry University, and there was a black woman there. Shout out to black women, by the way. Her name, Dr. Nakesia Gordon. She knew me she was my advisor. She was my professor for 4 different classes. And I remember walking into her office and I said, well, I want to major in journalism and I want to major in mathematics. And she looked at me like I was a little crazy. And I did walk away with both of those degrees, but I didn't know what to do. And I constantly went to her office and I was like, I don't know how to combine these 2 degrees. I don't know what I got to do. I don't know what to do in life. And she took me under her wing from that very first day in undergrad and told me, you might really be interested in research. You might be a quantitative communication scholar. And I had no idea what any of that meant. She told me about a PhD. I had no idea what any of that meant either. But she was a great listener. She allowed me to take up space in her office all the time, weekly, to ask her more questions about what is it like to be a professor? What is it like to get a PhD? What is it like to be a graduate student? And just her listening helped me to become the person I am here today.
I'm just not loud. Okay, hi. I actually had the privilege of having my first mentor in the field of communications with Priscilla Cotton, actually. I did not know that people like me were in the field of communications at all. I thought that it was only journalism or applied communication, and that was it. I didn't even know you could do a PhD. So thankfully, a professor of mine at NYU, Dr. Deborah Borisoff, recommended me for the program, and once I got in, I was paired up with Priscilla, and it literally changed my life. Like, my whole perspective of the world of communication was changed just by her friendship before there was even a mentor. There was a friend that I could confide in. I could ask all the different types of questions because I had no idea what I was doing. So I'm blessed that I had the fortunate ability to have my mentorship through the pipeline program, actually.
Okay, good. Okay, so we'll move on to the next question. What initially motivated you to participate in a program like this one, a PhD pipeline program, as either a mentor or a mentee?
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Priscilla. So I'm going to kind of combine the first question with this because I think they're related. But as an undergrad student, I was a math major. And I wanted to become a pediatrician at one point. And I graduated, and I had a math degree, and I started teaching as a math teacher, as a high school math teacher. And as I was studying for the MCAT, I realized that I loved teaching a little bit more than studying for the MCAT. And I found, and I just did more research on what communication meant, and I was like, okay, how do I do health and teach at the same time? And I discovered communication, and I ended up starting my master's program at Bowie State University under the advisement of Dr. Cubbage. And she was really the first official mentor that I had, and she is the person who introduced me to this program and Dr. Jackson. And it was the community, it was feeling affirmation, it was feeling guided, it was just having a community within academia that I had never experienced before as a first gen as well. It was just something that I had never experienced before, and I was fully embraced to it, and it was fully something that completely changed my life, and the outlook on what I am today, and just kind of relighten my passion for my research and just obviously my mentee here. and just the community that I have here, it's completely a lifetime that, it just will not end. So, really super grateful.
All right, good.
Hi, I'm Kimberly Johnson, and my response is, you had me at PhD mentor director. So he really did, because I have a heart for PhD students. I'm at Tennessee State University, and we have a great communication department, but we only have undergraduate students in our department. And as I said, I have a heart for graduate students, and especially PhD students, because I remember my PhD experience. And so to be able to pour into other individuals who are going through the process, to not just share my experience, but to also be a sounding board for them and to help them find some resources, that was just an opportunity that I just had to jump on, and I am so glad I did, because I have been a part of this program for 2 years now. And, well, actually, no, this is my third year. This is my third year, yeah. Time flies when you're having fun. For 3 years, and it is just amazing. It's been amazing to see the evolution of how we mentored in the beginning, to see how even the peer mentors are now getting mentored, and so everybody in the program fully feels mentored, and just to see how we're growing and how we will continue to grow. So thanks for asking me to be part of this.
For me, I would say the person and the thing that motivated me to want to participate in this program was my amazing mentor in undergrad, Dr. Claudette McFadden. I was sitting in summer camp, not really knowing what I was going to do next. I was graduating in the coming year, and she sent me an email saying, hey, this is a great opportunity. I think you should check it out. And my first response was no. My first response was like, the application deadline had already passed. I was like, this doesn't look like it's a good opportunity. I'm not sure about it. And something in the back of my mind said, just listen to her. Just listen to her. She hasn't led you wrong yet. She wants the best for you. And I just decided to follow that voice in the back of my head, and it has been one of the best decisions that I've made. I've found people that I can connect with. I found a community out here. I found people who value my opinion and my voice. I feel like I haven't always been in spaces like that. So shout out to Dr. McFadden, shout out to the illustrious Bethune-Cookman University, and hail Wildcats.
All right, he said, hail Wildcats. I'm a FAMU grad, undergrad, so Rattlers, where y'all at? But for me, I had the great pleasure of, through my mentor, Dr. Craver, to meet Dr. Tonisha Taylor, who was actually a mentee to Dr. Ronald Jackson. And in meeting her, she was like, PhD, pushing me. And I was like, I do, I don't. And I was able to become her research assistant in Africana Studies, in the Africana Studies Center. And she was like, you need to apply for this program. And I was like, are you sure? You positive? And she was like, yes, apply. This is a great resource for you to get connected within the communication, as a whole, and understanding what it is, understanding the process of going through, and especially being a Black scholar within the field. And we don't talk about that enough. And so sure enough, I applied, and it has changed my trajectory for life. If I did not become a part of this program, I would not be in my PhD program now. I would have not have learned the ins and out of NCA, the ins and out of the communication field as a whole, being a Black scholar from the Black experience, because it's not the same. And what we go through, the trials and tribulations, you need things, and you need different organizations like this to move you along, to help you throughout the journey, because there's just parts of the game you don't know. And if you don't have someone who knows, you are going to be walking blind every time. So this program guided me into knowing not only my future and destiny, but knowing myself. And I appreciate that for everything and all things that come when it comes down to the CP3 program.
So I was supposed to be sitting down. I realized that an empty chair was supposed to be mine. So I'm going to sit down, but I'm going to sit down after I ask this question. And the question is, what did your mentors do that made you feel seen, supported, or challenged in very productive ways?
I'll take this one. Hi, bro. I'm Kyle. I took Dr. Jackson on as a mentor 2 years ago when he came to the University of Miami. The graduate program director, I don't know if she kind of saw that I was one of those PhD students who needed a mentor, but she said, hey, Dr. Jackson's coming to UM. Would you like to work under him? I said, Dr. Jackson? I just cited him the other day, sure, you know? So he came to Miami, we had lunch, and since then, I've been a part of this program in various capacities. I've worked on the documentary, got to interview all of these fine people here and listen to all of their stories. But I got to see the intricate details of this program and how it works. This is probably the hardest working man in academia I have ever come across. I went into Dr. Jackson's office one day and he was working. And I said, Dr. Jackson, you still working on this? He said, yeah, I put in 30 hours a week on the PhD pipeline program. That's in addition to his professor roles, right? But I say all this to say, he's a leader. And sometimes people take on leadership roles and they don't lead. He gets in front, he does all the hard work, he does the pulling, but he executes a vision. There is a vision to see all of the peer mentors, the fellows, everyone benefit from this program in some way. I was not a fellow, I was not a peer mentor, I am an administrative assistant, but I have a mentor in Dr. Jackson, Dr. McFerguson, and it's something when you can reach out to any of these people who you cite all the time. You have professors who you see in journals, and you can pick up the phone, you can call them, you can email them, and they can give you guidance. Hey, this is what you should be applying for. This is how you cite things. Just simple things that as a PhD student, you're afraid to ask certain people. And for me, that's been a blessing, and I thank God all the time for Dr. Jackson, because there are things that I want to know. Like, for example, the other day, I had to fill out a candidacy form. I didn't know what that was until he pointed that out. And so there are simple things that you would not know unless you have a really good mentor who pours into you. And again, I was not a fellow. I was not someone who should be benefiting from the program per se, but I think I benefited far more than a lot of the people here today. So thank you, Dr. Jackson, for that.
Just real quickly, one of the things that's interesting is like none of this stuff happens with just one person. So we have a legion of scholars. I think there has to be at least 100 different people that have signed up to be mentors within this program. Lots of them are here in the audience today. We started off with Dr. With Dr. Nicole Files-Thompson as one of the co-directors. She did a phenomenal job. We had Grace Vondenbeken helped us out quite a bit within the program. They're sitting in the audience. We just had tremendous support. You can look around the audience and see all kinds of individuals from Sean Upshaw, Mark Hobson, and E. Patrick Johnson, and Janetta Sims, and and so it's phenomenal when you start looking to lean on people and they're there to say, I'm here. What do you need from me? Andre Johnson, other people, what do we need from you? Dana Cloud, others, right? So what I love is that part of this program as well. Okay, I just wanted to kind of put that shout out.
I'll go. So Marquise McFerguson, and I think one of the ways that one of my former mentors made me feel supported and challenged, and in particular I'm talking about Dr. Aisha Durham, was I think we all have those pivotal moments in our PhD program, and I think one of those moments for me was when I went to her office, and I had already made up in my mind I was going to quit. I'm like, hey, today's the day. I'm about like two to three semesters in, and I think for me, I was just. It gets to a point when you don't see scholars that reflect who you are and the communities that you come from in the syllabi over and over again. It gets to be overwhelming. They write in a way that doesn't necessarily reflect or mirror the communities that you come from. And it's not to discredit the research, but you just don't see yourself in it. So you question whether or not I can see myself in this space. And I remember I had started crying in the office, and I was just like, oh Lord. And so like, this is a coming to Jesus moment, and or whatever deity, okay. And so it was a moment where she talked to me, and then she gave me a book by Mark Anthony Neal. And if you don't know the work of Mark Anthony Neal, he's this scholar who blends like black masculinity with pop culture, but he writes in a way that also mirrors pop culture. Then she was instrumental in exposing me to the work of like Brian Keith Alexander, E. Patrick Johnson, Robin Boylan. And I think she challenged me that day, and still continues to do, challenge me to never erase yourself, to exist within this space. And that's something I carry with me. And so I think that is one of the things that made me feel challenged, but also supported, because oftentimes you feel in order to be scholarly or to be marked, to be seen a certain way, you have to contort and shift, and you have to some degree, erase who you are. And no, you don't. So that's it, yeah.
My advisor in the PhD program was Sandy Sarkala. And to this day, I love that woman. She made me feel seen, heard. She challenged me. I felt supported, and I felt absolutely loved, which I'm going to raise the bar at the end. But in terms of me being seen and heard, so I went to University of Memphis, and it took me a moment to figure out that I wanted to look at womanist rhetoric and womanist preaching. And Sandy's a feminist, and so she took it upon herself to go out and learn about womanism. She also took it upon herself to find a womanist scholar at University of Memphis. And so then we talked about this person, and then Ladrika Mensenfer joined my committee. And so that was great. That was making me feel seen, making me feel heard, and that, you know, she was supporting the scholarship. She would challenge me by having me to unofficially step in the role of TA in certain classes, and then by pushing me to do certain presentations at various conferences. And she definitely supported me along the way, but I gave you a preview that I was going to raise the bar. So, okay, when I graduated, I was her first PhD student. And so she actually took me and my entire family to Paulette's for dinner. So that's what a really cool mentor will do for you, right?
I would say so.
Okay, and this is probably, maybe, I will see, our last question for the panel, which is, what advice would you give the NCA, any member here that's here part of this audience today, about effective mentoring? You know, I think there is a difference between mentoring and coaching and advising, and you all obviously have been mentored well, and so what takeaways would you give us?
I'll start off. Sure. Yeah, I'll start off. In regards to proper mentorship, is the idea of your mentee is not you. They have their own trajectory, their own viewpoints of life, their own viewpoints of research. They are not you. Mold them, help them, guide them into who they want to be and not who you want them to become. But lead them, yes, listen, lead them into the direction they want to go. And honestly, we as humans, we can all tell when someone is being genuine and when they really care and when they really love you and love you for you. Not your work, not what you can produce, but love you for you. Love you for Marquise, love you for Scott, not for anything else. And so be there for your students. Ask them if they're okay and mean it. Because sometimes they'll say, okay, I'm fine. But are they really? Ask them, okay, no, are you okay? check on them. Because just like we as people within the academia have a lot going on, these students have just as much that they deal with on a daily. So you have to be there for them. You have to be their academe parents, aunties and uncles, because some of us don't have guidance. Some of them are first gens, and regardless of if they are or not, they need guidance, motivation. And so I would say lead with that, lead with love. No interior motives, no any of that. Lead with love and wanting for them to be the best that they can be and that they want for themselves. And being honest. Tell them the truth. If it's bad, it's bad. If it's good, it's good. No sugarcoating, no any of that. Because they need the honesty to be the best that they can be. So I'll end with that.
If I can just piggyback off that, I just want to say any advice I would say, just be authentic and be genuine. Don't just mentor to check a box, right? Let them see that you really mean this from the heart, because it shows. I grew up on an island with 2,500 people in the Bahamas, moved here to pursue a dream of becoming a professor. It's something I always wanted to do. Dr. Jackson saw that, and he poured into me, and that was something that I appreciate to this day. And I say be authentic and be genuine because I can see that it's genuine. I've been given so many opportunities to travel, to come to NCA twice. I would have never showed up here once had I not been given the opportunity, you know? That's just me being honest. And you just want to be genuine because the students can really, really see it, and they're going to appreciate it. And understand that while you're pouring into them, someday they're going to turn around and pour into someone else. So you are creating a cycle, and you want that to be a very positive cycle. And so hopefully one day I can be someone's Dr. Jackson, and the cycle will continue.
Precious, you ate. But also in that idea of a lot of us are lost, help us draw the map. Even if you don't know where we're going, a lot of us don't know where we're going, but we need your help to at least develop or draw the map of how to get there. And you being there throughout the process of helping us draw that map, and then when we're also lost of the map that we just drew, and we go back to you like, hey, I'm still a little lost. Can you help me with that? I didn't even think I'd be able to apply for my PhD program if it wasn't for Priscilla telling me like, no, you can actually still do it. Let's talk through it. Let's come up with a plan. And now I have my plan. I have what I'm doing. I know what I'm doing, but it's because she helped me create that map. She helped me figure out what my milestones are. She helped me figure out how I could get there to the place that I want to be. Even if she didn't know it herself, she could help me figure out how to do it as well. And then she was always a person I could check back in with. So I would say help us draw the map. Even if you don't know what our destination is, help us figure out the way that we can figure out what our destination is.
And I think that NCA is doing the right thing by picking up a program like this and adding it as a special program because, we've been doing this for the last 4 years, some of us less than that, but I think we have like a toolbox that's worked really well. We have the toolbox to create an amazing program that we've started and would love to be supported further. But then also just talking with us about our experiences as we're sharing them here. I mean, I could name so many amazing mentors that I have, like Jesse Fox, Bridget Rubenking, Ron Jackson, Tayo Banjo, Nikisia Gordon, right? So not only speaking with us, but also speaking with those that got us to where we are, right? Because obviously we've learned something from them. They're doing something right. And so we could probably reflect on not only our experiences up here, but theirs as well, and understand how we could move us as a discipline forward in many different ways.
For me, I would say to show up in ways that are undeniable, in ways that we can't not help see that you're showing up. For my undergrad, to get a little personal, I dropped out of my undergrad. I went through an eviction, and Dr. McFadden showed up for me in a way that was undeniable. She paid for my hotel when I didn't have a place to live. She made sure I got back into school when I wasn't sure that that's the way I want to go. And that was just a way that was without her, and without her showing up in an undeniable way of like, no, I'm guiding you through this. I'm going to hold your hand through this tough journey that you're going through. I wouldn't be here today. So just show up. It's not always going to be easy to show up. I know it wasn't easy for her, but showing up in ways that we just say, wow, I can't help but now want to elevate myself and to continue to push myself in ways that I didn't even see for myself, just by simply showing up and being that kind of vessel in the middle to uplift and be there for you in your dark spaces.
Thanks to this panel. Thanks for your honest, genuine feedback. Thanks for your elevation. Thanks for extending to all of us and sharing with us your experiences. And I just would like for you all to give another round of applause to this panel. And this panel has been lifting as we climb, and it's all about giving back. So when you see people throughout this conference wearing this little lapel pin that looks like this little Sankofa bird, it means that it's all about giving back, looking back and willing to help someone else elevate. And so again, another round of applause for our panelists. Now we have the treat to once again welcome back to the stage Dr. Javon Johnson.
All right, we still good? A round of applause for these young, brilliant academics. So the mentor discourse has gotten to me. I'm gonna share a couple of mentor stories about my mentor. I'm gonna put you on blast, Patrick. Here's the beautiful thing, and what I super appreciated about Patrick is that he mentored me in ways that was familiar to me, right? Because that's also important, right? Like in language that made sense to me, right? He mentored me in a real black way, and I love it. Story number one, I was trying to rush to finish my PhD. Like I was like, going ham, like trying to finish it. I had this idea in my mind, I wanted to finish in 4 years. And Patrick was like, you wanna be Dr. Johnson with no money, or do you wanna be Javon Johnson with some funding? And I was like, uh-oh, you made a point right there. I need to slow down and do this dissertation correctly. Another time, I was having frustration with another professor. I came to his office. I can get emotional. I'm ready to go, and he just goes, "Be still and know." And I was like, "What?" He was like, "Yes." And that was it. That was the conversation. But I know now, is what I'm saying. The other one, and this is my favorite one, this is my first class with Patrick, and I've read the book. I just came off of reading Appropriating Blackness. I'm like, oh my God, he's brilliant. I want to make a good impression. And I was the student that got A's on everything, right? And Patrick gave me my paper back, and it was bad. I was like, oh. And so I called Jeffrey McCune, who's also one of Patrick's mentees, who was a few years ahead of me. And I was like, I might need a new mentor. I might need to quit. I think Patrick thinks I'm dumb. He was like, what? And I explained to him. He goes, oh no, Patrick likes you. And I was like, what? He was like, yeah, he's busy. If he took that much time out to correct your paper, it's called love. And I knew I found one from day one. Thank you. Love you with all my heart. I really do. I know Ron asked me not to read, but I 90% know this poem, and I didn't want to struggle through it, so you got to bear with me here, Ron. So I'm going to do that with y'all. Is that all right? Okay, here we go. Poem. I am a full-time university professor, and my job is exactly as sexy as it sounds. On most days, like most of us in here, I simply read an ungodly amount. And when I'm not doing that, I'm teaching. When I'm not doing that, I'm either grading students' work or prepping for classes. And when I'm not doing that, I'm mentoring grad students. And when I'm not doing that, I'm sitting in on committee meetings. And when I'm not doing that, I'm doing service work for my department, my university, the community in which I live, plus my disciplines, all while trying to maintain my own research agenda and a full-time performance poetry career. In other words, I put in work, y'all. I love my job, though. On most days, teaching for me is like one of those really complicated math problems where if Johnny had 7 candy bars and he boarded a train leaving Kansas, how many basketballs can he burn on the roof before the children start crying again? In other words, it's confusing as heck. But I love how we come together and almost always figure it out. I had this one student, y'all, who was brown as the border that crossed her, asked me if I thought her white colleagues understood that her family had been trying to get her into college for generations, said she picked this campus the same way her grandfather picked fruit, that it was painful, but what else was she going to do? Said she wondered if her colleagues understood the weight of all that, wondered, and see, this is the part, right? Wondered if they understood the weight of all of that. Where am I at? I'm sorry. Wondered if they understood the weight of all that, if she knew she picked this kind of, but what else was she gonna do? We spoke about why so many of her colleagues seem angrier with illegal immigration than they do with illegal banking practices. Fact, it would cost this country's government roughly 60-something billion to pay for everyone's tuition at all public colleges and universities. Instead, we spend over 70 to subsidize the cost and over 100 in student loans when tuition is steadily rising and starting salaries are dropping, degrees become no different than a designer bag, a cheap fashion statement not even worth a trip to the mall. No one ever tells you that you have to drown in debt and hoping to making it to the shore, that the loan system is a lot like Alcatraz, a lot like Rikers Island, a lot like getting screwed while the guards don't even have the decency to pretend to look the other way. The difference between student debtors and prisoners is that students are taught to think on the outside of the bars. What world do we live in where I, as a college professor, struggle to pay down my own debt? It's like I learned nothing from Biggie. I'm getting high on my own supply. It's like I'm selling crack to pay down my crack debt, but I am the dream, y'all, all shiny and pulled up by like bootstraps. What kind of, but some days, y'all, I'm sorry. Some days I feel like a wolf in sheep clothing. Or better, I feel like the shepherd leading his own flock to slaughter. I teach classes on structural racism and gender inequality in a system that is more willing to punish its students for plagiarism than it is for sexual assault. What world do we live in when we're telling our students that the thoughts of dead people are far more valuable than our own than their own bodies? Students have become Black Friday customers, and the university does not care whose body gets sampled in the trampede of it all. But us being here right now is a revolutionary act. We forced them to peel back the curtains to a well-manicured show. We forced them to deal with the racism, the sexism, the homophobia that it's all built on. We watch them squirm whenever we open our mouths because they know we're not comfortable with just getting into the system. We want to claw it down. So, if Johnny did board that train at 3 p.m., with $170,000 in debt, how many more basketballs will it take for him to burn on the roof before we admit that that still makes so much more sense than all of this? So I am, thank you. I am a father. I still feel like a new father. I don't know if that feeling, does that feeling for those of us who've been fathers for more than a decade, does that feeling go away? I feel like I'm figuring it out every day. I've been doing this for a while. And I'm like, ugh, am I? And you kind of don't know, right? Because like the test gets graded when they turn 18, and that's when you find out. It's like, uh-oh, I messed up, or I did a great job, right? I think I'm doing good. I say all of that to say, so I have a 5-year-old daughter. She's dope. She's the most incredible thing in the world. And she is a lot like me. I was just telling Patrick a story. He was like, yeah, that's her. She's her father's daughter. And I was like, yeah, she's a lot like me. She just shoot from the hip. She'll say what she feels. She was reading one day, and I was like, hey, baby, what are you reading? We're like, what are you doing over there? And she was like, not everything is about you, Dad. And I was like, that's fair, but watch your mouth. You know what I mean? That's crazy. It's fair, you're correct, but you're incorrect. One day we were listening to the radio, and it was something on, I was listening to NPR, and somebody was discussing a story of some kind, and she was like, they had mentioned stories and main characters, right? And she was like, Daddy, what's a main character? And I explained to her what a main character is, of course, right? And she goes, I'm always the main character. And I was like, uh-oh, I'm in trouble. But I love it. I super love overconfident black children. The world's gonna tear them down enough. Raise these kids to be arrogant and believe themselves, but that's another story for another day. The first time I prepared food with my daughter, she grabbed everything in sight and yelled, mine. She enjoys cutting things a little too much for my comfort level. I'm excited though, because one day I'll get to teach my daughter how to make one of my favorite desserts. A traditional pound cake requires exactly 1 pound each of flour, butter, sugar, and eggs. For the non-bakers in the house, that's why it's called a pound cake, by the way. But flour gives structure when mixed with water. Wheat flour's proteins interact and form gluten. It is this elastic gluten that stretches during the cake's rising. Sugar, of course, sweetens. Butter, a fat, provides flavor, but also moistens the cake, while eggs interacting with the flour provides height and texture. My mother taught me how to make a traditional pound cake when I was less than maybe 8 or 9 years old. Sometimes we had to beat it by hand, mixing all the ingredients to make sure it would raise right. I want to pass this tradition down to my own daughter, show her the old ways. But I worry about what it means to teach her that we have to beat things to provide them structure. I was in middle school when I was whipped to the point that I could see scars on my body to this day. My parents ensured me that it had to be done. Make certain that I would be a sweet child raised right, In my family, when we talk about physical punishment, the generation before loves to tell us how they had it so much worse, how we have it so much better now. They point to their scars and tell stories and pass them on like these are the only heirlooms that we have left, right? They treat their scars. My mother also had multiple versions of she had one with 7-Up, she had one with cream cheese, and another with a hint of lemon. Purists say that these alternative ingredients make it something other than a pound cake. They say it is weird to call these things that are different by the same name. When I tell people that I will not hit my child, they say spanking and beating are different. I say it's weird that you now want to call the same thing by 2 different names. When I tell people I will not hit my child, they laugh as if somehow the joke is on us. When I tell people I will not hit my child, I want to be her safe space. I want to be her prayer. I want to be her life raft and her warm blanket and the lighthouse that guides her back to shore. I want to be her shore. Sometimes my daughter places her head in the cave of my chest. And then sometimes she actually falls asleep there. I want her to know that every last part of me will always be a home for her. I want to find a way of making the cake without having to beat it, All right. Oh, almost broke right there. I wasn't planning on it, but we all right. Last poem. I wrote something for this event. Didn't have time to memorize it because in addition to my 5-year-old, we have a 5-month, 6-month almost, 6 month in a few days, 6-month-old at home. So I didn't have time to memorize this, so forgive me. But I did write something for the occasion. Are we all right? Are we good? All right. My son thinks I'm funny. He just, I walk in a room, he starts laughing. I don't even do anything. I'm like, yo, I don't know if it's the way I look or something. Like, watch yourself, young man. I pick him up and like, you need to figure your life out. We are not scholars in a room simply theorizing communication. We are not. We are the room. We are the foundation, the beams and columns, the windows that allow us to see the world. We are the elevators. Press our buttons, sure, but be gentle. We have been to every floor of this skyscraper, and I am telling you, it does go higher, but we do not stop here. I know this to be true in my bones. Like when I've used these hands to build a playhouse in the backyard for my daughter. Every night I went to bed, my back aching, knees throbbing, knuckles cut wide open. And when I was done, she smiled and said, "Daddy, thank you for making me my own place to live." I'm saying we are places to live. Each of us have sacrificed and made our bodies into homes for others, into refuges and safe space. When the students come to our office and ask if we have a minute, like it's the last prayer on earth, I know we have turned our small parts of campus into churches, into life rafts, hospitals, into portable promised lands. I know this is what it means to lift as we climb, to mentor as a radical act. I know this is how we rise to create communal change. So when we gather here, I must remind you, we are not simply scholars in a room theorizing communication. We are the room being built. We are the blueprints and renovations, frameworks and fresh paint, reminding each other that the world is ours to reimagine, redesign, and rebuild. So let this be our charge. Keep turning our lights on. Keep opening those doors. Keep shaping our campuses into places where no one forgets their worth. Let us build, let us teach, let us tend, and refuse to retreat from the labor of care. Let us craft the world where our students deserve. One conversation, one gesture, one radical act of communication at a time. Thank you. Y'all been beautiful.
Well, let's give everybody another round of applause. My goodness. I don't know about you all, but I am so inspired. I'm encouraged to see all the young faces here who are following in our footsteps. And I think we're going to turn right around and follow you all as well, because my goodness, you all have really inspired us and encouraged us. And I hope that you all recognize this is an incredibly powerful moment in so many different ways. Many of us, when we were back in the day, a couple of years ago, when we when we were on the same journey, we didn't have this space. And it's so good to look out and see all the wonderful faces of those who are like-minded, are committed to the discipline, and are just ready to take us to another level. We're communicating to elevate, and we're lifting as we climb. So thank you all for all of that. So just a couple of announcements. Excuse me. So tonight, the welcome reception will be in this area here. It says the Colorado Ballroom Pre-Function. I'm directionally challenged, but I do know we are in the Colorado Ballroom, so it should be in this vicinity. And then at, if you want to go do Zumba, you can do that at 7:30. And then at 8:30, NCA's After Dark Karaoke Night will be in the still in this area, the Colorado Ballroom pre-function. I'm going to be there and I'm going to sing my solo, so I have to go rest up. Y'all want me to sing a little bit? No, I ain't gonna do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, because I will do it. But I got to go rest my voice for a little bit, and then I am going to come back. So hopefully you all will come here. But more importantly, I want you all to make the best of this conference. And when you see me, please come give me a hug. And if I'm going to recognize your face because I know I saw you here, I'm going to come give you a hug as well. Don't think I'm crazy because that's what I do. And thank you all, and let's have a great week.